Guys, I want you to know I will keep this going for as long as you're listening. If there's more you like to hear, let me know. Main story. For exactly 3 days, my life was normal. Not completely normal. Normal by our standards. Which meant no authors, no reality revisions, no death routes, no cursed manuscripts, no comments demanding my emotional destruction, just work, family, Elena, and an increasingly alarming number of scheduled dates. It was wonderful. It was peaceful. It was obviously doomed, because peace in my life had the lifespan of a discount battery. On the third morning, I was sitting on the terrace behind the estate eating breakfast when my system quietly appeared. No alarms. No flashing warnings. Just a simple message. Choice Preservation Advisory. Damon Frost has requested an emotionally significant conversation. I stared, then stared harder, then looked around for hidden cameras. Elena, seated beside me with coffee and financial reports, she didn't look up. Yes, my system says Damon wants an emotionally significant conversation. She turned a page. That sounds unpleasant. See, you understand me. A second notification appeared. Damon Frost waiting in East Garden. I groaned immediately. Elena. Yes. If I don't go, what happens? He'll come here. I looked toward the garden. Then toward my breakfast. Then toward freedom. There was no freedom. I stood. This is a tragedy. You survived multiple narrative layers. Yes. And now I have to discuss emotions with Damon Frost. For the first time that morning, Elena smiled. Traitor. The East Garden was beautiful. Which made it worse. If someone was going to ambush me with emotional honesty, they should at least do it somewhere ugly. Damon stood near a koi pond. Hands in his pockets. Dark jacket. No white suit. Progress. When he saw me, he nodded. Lucas. I stopped several feet away. Can we establish immediately that whatever this is, I didn't consent emotionally? Damon sighed. You say things like that, and then people wonder why Elena looks tired. Deflection noted, what's the meeting about? For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he looked at the water. I found something. I immediately hated those words. Found what? A memory. Of course. Of course it was a memory. Nothing good ever started with memories. Damon's expression became distant. After the publishing house, my system started unlocking fragments. The Anchor Liberation Interface. I still refused to take it seriously. I remembered Draft 0. My posture straightened slightly. What kind of memory? He looked at me. The friendship kind. Oh. The garden suddenly felt quieter. Damon laughed weakly. Honestly, I wasn't prepared either. Neither was I. Original novel, Damon and Lucas hated each other. Draft 0, Damon and Lucas. Apparently best friends. The idea felt wrong, yet strangely familiar. Like a word sitting just beyond recognition. Damon continued. I remembered university. I froze. We never attended the same university. In revision, no. His voice dropped. In Draft 0, we did. Something stirred in the back of my mind. Not a full memory. Just a feeling. Late nights. Campus lights. Arguments. Someone laughing. Damon rubbed his face. I remembered introducing you to Elena. That got my attention. What? He nodded. You would complain about her before you even met her. I stared. Why? You said she sounded terrifying. Reasonable. Then you met her and became dramatically less rational. Also reasonable. For the first time, Damon laughed. A real one. Not bitter. Not defensive. Just genuine amusement. You were hopeless. I refuse to accept historical slander. It gets worse. No. You used to ask me for advice. I pointed at him. Now I know you're lying. I swear. Damon, I watched you attempt romance. Your success rate was catastrophic. Which makes it even funnier. I hated that he had a point. We stood there in silence for a moment, neither quite knowing how to treat memories from a life that technically never happened. Finally, Damon said quietly, I miss him. The joke died instantly. Original Lucas. Draft 0 Lucas. The version before revisions. Before humiliation. Before roots. Before being rewritten. The version who apparently befriended Damon. Loved Elena. And died. I do too, I admitted. Damon nodded slowly. Then looked at me. But you're here. I blinked. What? You aren't him. His voice was steady. But you're not separate either. I frowned. That's not confusing at all. You know what I mean. Unfortunately, I did. Damon gave a small smile. Draft 0 me would be happy you survived. My throat tightened unexpectedly. Rude. Very rude. I came here for conversation, not emotional damage. Damon. Yes. Never say something that sincere again. Why? It creates paperwork in my soul. He rolled his eyes. That's not a real sentence. It is now. When I returned to the terrace, Elena immediately looked up. You look emotionally inconvenienced. Damon remembered friendship. She went still. Exactly. She closed her report. What did he remember? I sat down beside her. Apparently, I used to ask him for advice. Elena nearly spit out her coffee. I pointed. See, even you know that's absurd. She was trying very hard not to laugh. I apologize. No, you don't. No. At least she was honest. I reached for a pastry. Then froze. A white notification panel had appeared above the table. Not hostile. Just present. Elena saw it too. The panel displayed. Reader activity report. I narrowed my eyes. That's new. The report continued. Reader approval of current genre, 63%. Reader confusion about Damon redemption, 41%. Reader support for Elena/Luca's relationship, 89%. Reader concern about future villain activity, 78%. I stared. Then looked at Elena. Then looked back at the panel. We're getting analytics. Elena looked thoughtful. I dislike this less than comments. Another line appeared. Most requested future event. Third date. The panel vanished. We sat in silence. Then I said, the readers are invested. Elena took a calm sip of coffee. Yes. Should we be concerned? No. Why? Her lips curved. Because I agree with them. 3 seconds passed. Then 4. I pointed at her. You've become dangerously direct. Personal growth. I sighed. No, this is revenge. Perhaps, honestly, also perhaps, that afternoon, peace lasted right up until Cassandra requested a meeting, which immediately concerned everybody. Damon looked ready for disaster. Security doubled. Elena had legal counsel on standby. I brought snacks. Preparation comes in many forms. Cassandra arrived in one of the estate conference rooms carrying a thick folder. A real folder, not a cursed manuscript. I considered that progress. She sat across from us and placed it on the table. I found something. I immediately leaned back. No, it's not supernatural. That's exactly what supernatural people say. Lucas. Sorry, continue. Cassandra opened the folder. Inside were records. Old records. Publishing contracts. Editorial correspondence. Draft notes. All connected to Myra Lane. The author. There were others before her, Cassandra said quietly. Elena leaned forward. What do you mean? Cassandra slid several pages across the table. Different authors. The room went silent. I felt my stomach drop. One author had been bad enough. Several sounded like a class-action lawsuit. Cassandra tapped the top document. The story existed before Myra. Another page. Before her too. Another. And before that. My system appeared. Reader layer investigation. Updated original discovery confirmed. Stories were revised multiple times across generations. I stared at the panel. Elena. Yes. We've been living through version control. Her eyes narrowed. I understood that reference. Good, we're doomed professionally. Cassandra continued. The original creator was LR. Again. Those initials. Lucas Reed. Draft 0. Some earlier version of him. Or someone connected to him. But after that, she said, different authors kept inheriting the story. Why? Damon asked. Because nobody liked the original ending. That sentence landed like a hammer. Nobody liked it. So people changed it. Again. And again. And again. Until nobody remembered what it had been. Or who it belonged to. Elena looked at the documents. Then at me. Lucas. Yeah. If the original creator really was connected to you, I nodded slowly. This gets more complicated. Yes. We sat in silence. Then I reached for a cookie. Because when reality becomes ridiculous, carbohydrates become strategic. That evening, as the sun began to set over the estate, I found myself standing on the balcony outside Elena's study. The same balcony where we talked after our second date. The city glowed gold beyond the trees. Warm, peaceful, suspiciously beautiful. The balcony door opened. Elena stepped outside, holding 2 cups of tea. She handed one to me. I accepted it without comment. Neither of us mentioned the wedding night memory. We didn't need to. After a minute, she spoke. Do you regret staying? Simple question. Terrifying question. Very Elena. I looked out over the city. Thought about the first day. The divorce papers. The settlement money. The escape plan. Then I thought about everything after. The systems. The drafts. The fights. The family I had gained. The friend I'd accidentally recovered. The villainess trying to become better. And Elena. Always Elena. Standing beside me. Choosing me. Choosing herself. Choosing us. No, I said. Her shoulders eased slightly. Good. You. She looked at the skyline. Then at me. No. For a moment, we simply stood there. Then my phone buzzed. I groaned. Elena. Yes. If that's another cosmic mystery, I'm resigning. I checked the screen. Unknown sender. One message. The reader has NOTICEDU. The T suddenly became less relaxing. A second message appeared. And the reader wants to meet. I stared at the phone. Then at the sky. Then at Elena. She looked at the message. Silence. Long silence. Finally, I sighed. Okay. Elena's eyes narrowed. Okay. Okay, but after the third date. For a second, she stared at me. Then laughed. Softly. Warmly. And somewhere in the distance, I could almost hear reality preparing another problem. It could wait. For once, it was going to wait. The message sat on my phone screen. The reader has NOTICEDU. And the reader wants to meet. I stared at it. Then handed the phone to Elena. Then took it back. Then handed it to her again. Maybe if you read it, it becomes your problem. It does not work that way. You don't know that. I do. Have you met a reader before? No. Exactly. Elena looked at the message twice. Then locked the screen. What are you thinking? That I hate everyone above the author layer. Good, we're aligned. The evening wind moved through the balcony. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Elena said something deeply unreasonable. Third date first. I blinked. The reader wants to meet. Yes. The cosmic audience beyond reality is requesting an appointment. Yes. And you're prioritizing dinner. Her expression remained perfectly calm. You said it could wait. That was before I realized the reader had scheduling privileges. She stepped closer. Lucas. Yes. You promised. My heart immediately betrayed me. A terrible organ. Absolutely no loyalty. I sighed. Fine. Good. You weaponized commitment. You noticed. I always notice. Her lips curved slightly. Then stop making promises you don't intend to keep. Critical hit. Absolutely brutal. I pointed at her. You're getting stronger. Practice. I should have been worried. Instead, I was impressed. The next morning, the estate entered a strange rhythm. Not peaceful. We were apparently too damaged for peaceful. But stable. Which was close enough. Thomas Reed resumed work with Reed Holdings. Grace began personally feeding everyone, convinced corporate conspiracies could be defeated through excessive breakfast. Damon entered what he called a reconstruction phase. What this actually meant was reading self-help books and having existential crises in expensive sweaters. And Cassandra. Cassandra voluntarily attended every legal meeting Elena assigned. The lawyers did not know how to process this. At 11 o'clock, I walked into a conference room and found Cassandra reviewing compensation proposals for every employee harmed by Veil Horizons' actions. I stopped, backed out, came back in. She looked up. What? I'm checking for body doubles. Her eyes narrowed. I made mistakes. You committed enough crimes to qualify as a plot arc. Yes. And now you're reviewing compensation packages. Yes. I sat down carefully. This character development is aggressive. For a moment, something almost like amusement appeared on her face. I'm trying. The sincerity caught me off guard. I looked at the files. Dozens of names. Employees. Consultants. People harmed indirectly by her schemes. Every one of them had a compensation recommendation beside it. No shortcuts. No loopholes. Real accountability. Huh. That's what redemption through consequence looked like. Less dramatic than novels. More paperwork. Honestly. Fitting. At lunch, Damon found me in the garden, which was becoming a problem. People kept finding me in gardens when they wanted emotional conversations. I needed less accessible landscaping. He sat beside me on a stone bench. Neither of us spoke for a minute. Then he held up a photograph. I frowned. What is that? A memory reconstruction. Of course. Everything had memory reconstruction now. He handed it over. The picture showed two young men on a university campus. One was Damon. The other was me. Or Lucas. Or both. We looked younger. Stupider. Happy. I stared for a long time. Then pointed. Is that hair real? Damon looked offended. It was fashionable. Damon, that haircut violated several human rights treaties. It was expensive. That's worse. He took the photo back. But he was smiling now. A real smile. Not a protagonist smile. Just Damon. We sat quietly. Then he said something unexpected. You know, I don't think Draft Zero me would be surprised. About what? You and Elena. The world immediately became suspicious. No. Yes. No. You literally held hands while fighting an author. That's not evidence. It absolutely is. I rubbed my face. Why is everyone invested in this? Damon looked skyward. Maybe because we spent years being pushed toward the wrong stories. That one lingered. Wrong stories. Maybe that was what freedom actually fixed. Not removing struggle. Just letting people choose which struggle mattered. The third date happened 3 nights later. And this time, nothing interrupted it. I know. I was shocked too. No Villainess. No author. No draft. No reader. No manuscript. Just Elena and me. We visited my penthouse. The infamous escape penthouse. The system-generated fortress, where I originally planned to hide with settlement money and emotional avoidance. Elena stood in the middle of the living room and slowly turned in a circle. Floor-to-ceiling windows. City skyline. Luxury furniture. Everything immaculate. Everything empty. It feels lonely, she said. Direct. Accurate. Painful. I looked around. She was right. When I bought it, it wasn't supposed to be a home. It was supposed to be an exit. A place to disappear. A place nobody could hurt me. Because nobody could reach me. Elena. Yes. When I first saw this place, I thought it was perfect. And now, I watched the sunset paint gold across the windows. Then looked at her standing there. Now part of every future I imagined. It was missing something. Her ears turned pink. Lucas. What? You've become smoother. No, I'm just trapped by self-awareness now. She laughed. The sound echoed through the penthouse. Not lonely anymore. Interesting. Very interesting. We spent hours there, cooking badly, arguing about furniture, negotiating hypothetical bookshelf placement. Normal things. Dangerously normal things. At one point, Elena sat on the floor beside the couch. No CEO posture. No armor. Just Elena. I sat beside her, close enough that our shoulders touched. The city glowed beyond the glass. Peace. Again. Suspicious. But real. Then my phone buzzed. Of course. Elena immediately narrowed her eyes. Don't. I haven't even looked. Don't. I smiled. Yes, ma'am. The phone buzzed again. And again. Eventually curiosity won. I checked. Unknown sender. One attachment. One message. Meeting request approved. The reader will see you now. I stared. Then showed Elena. She stared. Then looked back at me. Silence. Long silence. Finally. Elena. Yes. I think we're being summoned. Her expression became glacial. Rude. Very. A third message arrived. Coordinates. A library. Naturally. Every cosmic entity either lived in libraries or abandoned buildings. There was no middle ground. Elena set her phone down. When? I checked. Tomorrow night. 24 hours. Exactly. I looked at her. She looked at me. Tomorrow, I said. Tomorrow, she agreed. Neither of us smiled. The reader felt different. Not like the author. Not like Cassandra. Not like a system. Something older. More distant. Like a pair of eyes finally turning toward us after watching for a very long time. I wasn't afraid. Not exactly. But nervous. Absolutely. Then Elena reached over and took my hand. Simple. Steady. Certain. We'll go together. No hesitation. No discussion. Just fact. I smiled. Of course we will. Outside the penthouse windows, the city lights glittered. Below us, millions of lives continued without knowing their reality had drafts, authors, readers, and rewritten destinies. Above us, somewhere beyond everything, someone was waiting. The reader. The final layer. Maybe. Probably. Hopefully. Because honestly, if there was another layer after that, I was filing a formal complaint. My system chimed quietly. Choice Preservation Advisory. Next arc, the reader meeting recommendation. Maintain support network. I looked at Elena. At the woman who had gone from contract wife to partner. From plot heroine to self-authored future. Then I looked at the message. And laughed. Elena. Yes. If this reader asks invasive questions, I'm charging consulting fees. She leaned against my shoulder. For once completely relaxed. Reasonable. Finally, someone appreciated my business instincts. The next chapter was waiting. For the first time in a long time, we were choosing to walk into it. Together. The library was open. That was the first problem. Not abandoned. Not hidden. Not surrounded by supernatural fog. Just open. Normal people walked in and out carrying books. Students sat by the windows. An elderly man read a newspaper near the entrance. A child argued passionately with her mother about dragons. Normal. Deeply suspicious. I stood across the street beside Elena and frowned. Elena. Yes. This is either a trap or public funding working unusually well. She looked at the building. Most likely a trap. Good, we're aligned. Tonight had been planned carefully, which meant everything would go wrong anyway. Marcus had security teams nearby. Damon insisted on coming. Cassandra insisted on coming too. After a brief argument, Elena solved the issue by bringing both. Naturally. So now the four of us stood outside a perfectly ordinary city library, preparing to meet a cosmic reader. Damon adjusted his jacket. I still don't understand why the final layer is a library. Cassandra crossed her arms. Where else would readers hide? Online. That's worse. Fair. Elena took my hand. Not secretly. Not awkwardly. Just naturally. Damon immediately looked away. Still doing that? Yes, Elena said. Right. Progress. Beautiful progress. We entered. Nothing happened. No alarms. No glowing panels. No ominous narration. Just books. Thousands of them. My system appeared briefly. Reader meeting location confirmed. Proceed to archive level. Of course. There was an archive level. There was always an archive level. A librarian approached before we could move. An older woman with silver hair and warm eyes. She smiled politely. Mr. Reed. I immediately pointed. No. The librarian blinked. No. No mysterious old mentors. No cryptic greetings. No saying my name before introduction. Elena pinched the bridge of her nose. The woman laughed. Actually laughed. Not villain laughter. Not cosmic laughter. Just amused. You're exactly as described. That's concerning. It should be. She handed me a card. The front read. Archive access approved. The back contained one sentence. Some stories are read, some stories read back. I stared at it. Elena. Yes. I miss corporate fraud. I know. The librarian pointed toward a staircase. Basement level. Archive. She nodded. The reader is waiting. Then walked away. No explanation. No drama. Just retirement-age confidence. Terrifying. The archive level was nothing like the rest of the library. Quiet. Dim. Rows and rows of shelves stretching farther than physically possible. The moment we stepped off the stairs, reality became uncertain. One aisle appeared labeled. First loves. Another. Regrets. Another. Stories never finished. I stopped. Nope. Nobody listened. Typical. We followed the signs deeper. The shelves grew stranger. People who should have talked earlier. Villains who needed therapy. Death's readers complained about. Damon pointed. That one seems personal. It probably is. Cassandra actually snorted. Progress. Then we reached the center. A single desk stood beneath a lamp. A woman sat there reading. Young. Maybe 25. Maybe 80. Impossible to tell. Simple clothes. Dark hair. Glasses. A stack of books beside her. She looked completely ordinary. More ordinary than the author. More ordinary than anyone we'd met. When she saw us, she smiled. Oh, good. Silence. The four of us stared. She closed her book. You came. I waited. Nothing exploded. No glowing eyes. No reality distortions. Just a woman and a book. Finally, I asked, "You're the reader?" "Yes." "That seems anticlimactic." "Thank you." I blinked. That wasn't a compliment. Most people aren't honest enough to say it. Elena stepped slightly forward. "Who are you?" The reader considered. Someone who cared enough to keep turning pages. The answer somehow created more questions. Damon frowned. "That doesn't explain anything." "No," she agreed, "it doesn't." "Great. Another one." The reader gestured toward nearby chairs. "Sit." Nobody moved. She sighed. "See, this is why stories take so long." Elena sat first. I sat beside her. Damon and Cassandra sat across from us. The reader closed the book in her lap. Its cover was blank. I immediately distrusted it. "Before we start," I said, "I'd like to know whether you're trying to manipulate us." "No." "Are you lying?" "No." "Have you manipulated us previously?" She paused. "Indirectly." I pointed. "There." The reader nodded. "Fair." At least she was honest. More honest than the author. The room settled into silence. Then she looked directly at me. "Lucas Reed." My stomach tightened. "Which one?" To my surprise, she smiled. "Exactly." I knew. That wasn't a reassuring reaction. "You've spent a great deal of time asking whether you're the original Lucas, the reader, the replacement, the author, or the echo." I folded my arms. "Reasonable question." "Yes." "Do you have an answer?" The reader nodded. Then said, "Yes and no." I closed my eyes. "Elena." "Yes." "I miss the villainess." Cassandra looked offended. The reader laughed. "You are all versions." I opened one eye. "What?" She leaned forward. "Think of a story draft, then another, then another. Each revision changes details but keeps traces." Nobody interrupted. Even Elena. The reader continued. "The first Lucas created the story, the second lived it, the third rewrote it, the fourth escaped it." My pulse quickened. "The fourth?" "You." Silence. The reader looked at me kindly. "Lucas, you're not replacing anyone. You're the first version that achieved what every previous version wanted." I stared. Beside me, Elena's hand tightened around mine. The reader turned toward her. "Elena Winters." Elena's expression stayed calm. "Mostly. You spent years believing strength meant enduring loneliness." The reader smiled softly. "That was never your story." Elena looked away. The reader then faced Damon. "You thought being the lead made you important." Damon winced. "Yes." "You're finally learning that being chosen and choosing are different things." Damon didn't argue. "Good. Growth." Finally, the reader looked at Cassandra. For a moment, neither spoke. Then, "You've been angry for a very long time." Cassandra laughed once. "That's one way to describe it." "No." The reader's voice was gentle. "You were never angry people loved Elena more." Cassandra froze. The reader continued. "You were angry, nobody tried to understand you." Silence. Complete silence. Cassandra's eyes lowered. For once, she did not have a comeback. After a while, I asked the obvious question. "Why contact us now?" The reader smiled. Because you reached the end. I frowned. This doesn't feel like the end. It isn't. Then, the end of being controlled. The shelves around us glowed softly. Books shifted. Pages turned. The reader opened her blank book. Every page was empty. And now, she said, comes the difficult part. Elena hates when people say that. I do, Elena confirmed. The reader nodded. Good, this part deserves resistance. I immediately disliked where this was going. What part? The reader met my gaze. Living. The room went quiet. I blinked. Living. Yes. No offense, but we were already doing that. Were you? Ouch. The reader stood. She walked between shelves filled with impossible titles, then stopped before one labeled Stories After the Ending. Most stories stop when the central conflict is resolved. She touched a book. Very few ask what comes next. Damon frowned. Rebuilding. Yes. Cassandra. Accountability. Yes. Elena. Joyce. Yes. Then her eyes settled on me. And happiness. I immediately became suspicious. Happiness sounds like a trap. The reader actually laughed. There it is. There what is? The reason readers liked you. I pointed at myself. Me. Yes. Why? Because everyone else was trying to survive the plot. She smiled. You kept trying to live beyond it. That hit harder than expected. The reader closed her book. Your death route is gone, the author is gone, the draft foundation is repaired. Then her expression became serious. But freedom only matters if you use it. Nobody spoke. After everything we'd been through, it sounded absurdly simple. Use it. Live. Choose. Continue. No hidden route. No secret system. Just responsibility. Honestly. Terrifying. The meeting lasted another hour. No battles. No revelations about deeper layers. No final villain. Just conversation. Questions. Answers. Reflection. By the time we left, the archive seemed smaller. Less magical. More peaceful. At the staircase, I looked back. The reader was already reading again. As if we'd never arrived. That's it, I asked. She glanced up. Yes. No final quest. No. No cosmic threat. No. No hidden reader above the reader. She laughed. No. I pointed suspiciously. If there is, I'm retiring. Noted. Then she returned to her book. And somehow I believed her. Outside, the city air felt different. Lighter. Not because the problems were gone. Because they belonged to us now. No narrative pressure. No author expectations. Just consequences. Choices. Life. Damon walked beside Cassandra. Not romantically. Just beside her. A start. Marcus opened the car door. Elena took my hand. A familiar gesture now. One that no longer felt surprising. I looked at her. So, we won. She thought about it. Then shook her head. No. I blinked. No. Her fingers intertwined with mine. We continued. And somehow, that sounded better. My system appeared one last time. Not flashing, not urgent, just calm. Choice preservation system, primary objective completed. New objective, live well. I stared, then laughed. That's not an objective. Disagreement noted. Elena. Yes. My system became philosophical. It's copying you. Rude. Accurate. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Quick. Simple. Chosen. She smiled. And for once, there was no audience waiting for the next dramatic twist. Just tomorrow. Unwritten. Waiting. The reader gave us one final objective. Live well. Simple. Elegant. Completely useless. There were no instructions. No map. No rewards. No glowing arrows pointing toward a healthy emotional decision. Just two words thrown at us like we were supposed to know what they meant. I had crossed narrative layers, challenged an author, restored stolen memories, merged with a previous version of myself, broken a foundational death route, and survived an attempted hostile takeover of my marriage. But living well. That sounded complicated. Also expensive. Fortunately, I had $100 million, a system-generated penthouse, a private restaurant, several commercial properties, and a wife who treated international finance like light exercise. We would probably manage. Probably. The ride back from the library was quiet. Not uncomfortable. Just thoughtful. Damon and Cassandra traveled in the rear SUV under what Elena called mutual protective supervision, and what I called a very expensive adult timeout. Marcus sat in the front seat of our car, reviewing security reports. Elena sat beside me, looking out the window. The city moved past in ribbons of gold and white. No mysterious messages appeared. No comments floated in the air. No author tried to write me out of existence. It was unsettling. I checked my phone twice. Nothing. I looked at my system panel. Primary objective, live well. That was all. I poked it mentally. No additional details appeared. System. Yes, host. Define well. Insufficient information. I stared. You gave me the objective. Correct. And you don't know what it means. The definition is personal. Oh, I hate this philosophical update. Elena turned from the window. Your system. It has become emotionally unhelpful. What did you ask? What living well means? And it says the definition is personal. Elena considered that. It's correct. I looked at her. Of course, you support the supernatural spreadsheet. It has improved. It used to give me direct rewards. You already have excessive money. There is no such thing. You spent $400 million on a penthouse in an earlier narrative equivalent. That was another story. You speak as if that distinction protects you. It should. Her lips curved slightly. I leaned back. What does living well mean to you? The question left my mouth before I could stop it. Elena went still. Marcus looked straight ahead with the intense concentration of a man pretending the back seat did not exist. After a moment, Elena said, not losing myself to work. I turned toward her. She continued quietly. Not treating control as safety. Not waiting until something is gone before admitting it mattered. Her hand moved across the seat. Her fingers found mine. And not letting fear make my choices. That was annoyingly good. Apparently, Elena had prepared for the philosophical exam, while I was busy complaining about the syllabus. "What about you?" she asked. I looked at our joined hands. "I don't know yet." "That's acceptable." "Really?" "Yes." "No 5-year strategic plan." "Not for this." I narrowed my eyes. "Who are you?" Her grip tightened. "Be careful." There she was. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and silence. For 5 full seconds, I believed I had achieved peace. Then someone pounded on my door. "Lucas." "Damon." I pulled a pillow over my head. The pounding continued. "Lucas, wake up." "No. It's important." "Is the world ending?" "No." "Then schedule an appointment." The adjoining door to Elena's suite opened. She entered wearing a dark robe, her hair loosely tied back. She looked at my bedroom door. Then at me. "Damon." "Yes." "What does he want?" "I'm hoping he forgets." Damon knocked again. "I can hear you." I shouted, "Then hear this, go away." Elena walked over and opened the door. Betrayal. Deep marital betrayal. Damon stood in the hallway holding 3 folders and wearing an expression of serious concern. No white suit. Still progress. He looked past Elena toward me. "I need advice." I sat up slowly. "From me?" "Yes." "Have you suffered another head injury?" "No." "Then this is worse than I thought." Damon entered without invitation. Elena sat in the armchair near the window, clearly entertained by my suffering. Damon placed the folders on the bed. One contained Frost Capital restructuring documents. The second contained a resignation statement. The third contained a proposal titled Frost Foundation for Employee Recovery and Business Ethics. I read the title twice, then looked at him. "Business ethics?" "Yes." "You?" His face tightened. "I'm trying to improve." "This is aggressive improvement." Elena reached for the proposal. She read the first page while Damon waited. I looked at the resignation statement. "You're leaving Frost Capital." "Temporarily." "Why?" "Because I don't know which parts of my success were mine." That was honest. Painfully honest. Damon sat on the edge of a chair. "Cassandra built more of the company than I understood. The author pushed opportunities toward me. People trusted my image because the plot told them to. If I stay as CEO now, I'll keep wondering whether I earned any of it." I closed the folder. "That is the first intelligent reason for temporary leave I've heard." He looked relieved. Then I continued. "But it is also cowardly." His relief vanished. Elena glanced up from the foundation proposal. Damon's expression hardened. "Cowardly?" "Yes." "I'm taking responsibility." "No, you're leaving the company because uncertainty makes you uncomfortable." His jaw tightened. I knew that feeling. Walking away before anyone could determine you were a fraud. Taking the clean exit. Calling it freedom. Damon and I had more in common than I liked. I continued, "If you resign completely, what happens to the employees?" "The board appoints an interim CEO." From the same board that failed to notice Cassandra was secretly running half the company. He said nothing. "What happens to the clients?" Silence. "What happens to the people who believed in Frost Capital, even when your personal life became a traveling circus?" His face darkened. "I don't know." "Exactly." I handed the resignation back. Living well doesn't mean abandoning everything complicated. The The words surprised me as much as him. Elena's eyes settled on my face. I pretended not to notice. Damon looked down at the folder. Then what should I do? Stay long enough to stabilize the company. Appoint an independent governance committee. Publish the relevant audit. Reduce your authority. Earn it back gradually. Damon frowned. You thought of that quickly. I'm panic-gifted. Elena corrected me. Strategically gifted. Do not encourage him. Damon looked at the business ethics proposal. And the foundation. Elena closed the folder. Keep it, but do not name it after yourself. I wasn't planning to. Good. I added, also, remove your photo from the draft website. Damon froze. I stared at him. You put your photo on it. It was a placeholder. Elena gave him a cold look. He immediately picked up his phone. I'll remove it. Beautiful. The original male lead had become trainable. At breakfast, Cassandra joined us. She sat at the far end of the table with 2 lawyers, 1 security officer, and a stack of restitution documents. Grace insisted she eat. Cassandra initially refused. Grace placed a plate in front of her anyway. Cassandra stared at the eggs as if they were part of a psychological operation. Grace smiled. You need food. I'm not hungry. That wasn't a question. I leaned toward Elena. My mother may be the most powerful person in this house. Elena nodded. I agree. Cassandra reluctantly took a bite. Grace looked satisfied. The lawyers resumed their discussion. Cassandra had agreed to transfer a large portion of her personal Veil Horizon holdings into an independently managed restitution fund. She would testify against the executives who assisted her. She would also remain under monitored residence until the authorities determined how to handle the less conventional parts of her actions. The systems, authors, and altered memories were proving difficult to explain in court. Fortunately, financial crimes were easier. Humans had centuries of experience with those. One lawyer adjusted his glasses. Ms. Vale, this settlement would leave you with significantly reduced control over Veil Horizon. Cassandra continued eating. I know. You may permanently lose your position. I know. Several shareholders intend to remove you. I know. The lawyer hesitated. And you still approve. Cassandra placed her fork down. Yes. Damon watched from across the table. His expression was complicated. Not romantic. Not forgiving. But attentive. Cassandra noticed. What? Damon looked away. Nothing. Then stopped staring. I was. You were. I raised my coffee. Excellent. Freedom has restored everyone's ability to communicate like adolescents. Elena glanced at me. You are not exempt. I never claimed maturity. Cassandra looked back at the lawyer. Proceed with the settlement. The man nodded and made a note. My system appeared briefly. Advisory. Cassandra Vale continues chosen accountability route without coercion. No reward. No redemption percentage. Just a fact. Good. Redemption was not a prize the universe awarded. It was work. Repeated daily. Often with lawyers. After breakfast, Thomas asked me to walk with him. Another garden conversation. I was beginning to suspect the estate landscaping had been designed specifically for emotional ambushes. We followed the stone path toward the greenhouse. Thomas carried a folder. Of course he did. Everyone in this family communicated through documents. He handed it to me. The cover read, "Reed holding succession plan." I stopped walking. "No." Thomas blinked. "You haven't opened it." I read the title. Lucas. I have a special independent advisor role, a system with philosophical expectations, an unresolved identity history, and a third date to plan. I do not need succession. Thomas looked disappointed. Dangerous. Very dangerous. Original Lucas's feelings stirred inside me. The old need for his approval was quieter now, but not gone. I took a breath. "What are you asking?" Thomas opened the file. "I want you to become vice chairman." I nearly dropped it. "No." "Again, you haven't read the proposal." "I don't need to. Vice chairman sounds like meetings." "It includes meetings." "Rejected." Thomas sighed. "I'm serious." "So am I." We stood beside the greenhouse in silence. Then he said, "I don't know how long I can keep leading the company." My sarcasm faded. His health. The collapse. The stress. Thomas looked older than he had in Lucas's memories. Not dramatically. Just enough. "I made mistakes," he said. "With the company, with you. I kept thinking there would be time to fix them later." There it was again. The great villain of every version of this story. Later. Later to apologize. Later to choose. Later to live. Then the story cut the scene. "I'm not asking you to accept today," Thomas said. "I'm asking you to consider whether Reed Holdings could become something you choose, rather than something you inherit." That was unfairly thoughtful. I looked at the folder. Part-time. His face softened. "We can discuss it." "No morning meetings." "We can discuss that too." "Dessert budget." Thomas stared. Elena approved hers. "Then ask your wife to finance it." That sounds like admitting Winters' superiority. His expression hardened immediately. "Reed Holdings can fund its own desserts." I smiled. There it was. Family pride, finally used correctly. "I'll consider it." Thomas nodded. "That's enough." He turned to leave. "Dad." He stopped. I hesitated. Then said, "You're allowed to reduce your workload without disappearing." His shoulders stiffened. Slowly he nodded. "I'll remember that." Good. Maybe living well was contagious. That afternoon, Elena and I visited the penthouse again. Not for a date. For what she called an environmental conversion assessment, which was CEO language for deciding whether my escape bunker could become a home. She stood in the center of the living room with a tablet. "Guest rooms need updating." I looked around. They are already furnished. They look like hotel rooms. It is a luxury penthouse. It should feel personal. Personal how? She looked at me. "What do you like?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. That was embarrassing. "What do I like?" "Yes. I like dessert." "That is food." "I like money." "That is a resource." "Peace." "That is a condition." I frowned. This assessment is hostile. Elena lowered the tablet. "What did your old apartment look like?" "My original world apartment." "Small." "Messy." "Cheap shelves." "A worn sofa." "Coffee mugs from places I barely remembered visiting." "Books stacked badly because I never bought enough storage." "A blanket that had survived 3 moves." Nothing matched. Everything belonged to me. I described it. Elena listened. Then she typed notes. What are you writing? Bookshelves, comfortable sofa, mismatched coffee mugs. I stared. Elena Winters is ordering mismatched mugs. If they matter. That sentence was too powerful for a home design conversation. I walked toward the windows. The city stretched below. When I bought this place, I wanted it to prove I didn't need anyone. Elena stepped beside me. And now, I still don't want to need someone in a way that destroys me. Her expression remained calm. That is reasonable. But wanting someone is different. Her eyes moved to mine. Yes. I took her hand. I want you here. No joke. No deflection. Just truth. Elena's eyes softened. I want to be here. The penthouse remained silent. No system notification. Good. Some choices did not need witnesses. Then Elena added, but the dining table is unacceptable. I looked at it. What's wrong with it? It seats 14. Future board ambush protection. It is cold. You called furniture cold. I recognized the condition. I laughed. Fine new table. Seat 6. 8. 6. 7. She gave me a look. 6. Cruel negotiation. Efficient. I kissed her cheek. Her train of thought visibly stopped. Victory. 7, I said. She narrowed her eyes. Manipulation. Affectionate negotiation. 6. I kissed her other cheek. Her ears turned pink. 7, she said quietly. I grinned. Excellent partnership. She looked like she wanted to revoke the entire agreement. But she was smiling. That evening, all 4 core characters gathered in the estate library. Not the reader's impossible archive. A normal library. Mostly. There was one hidden panel, 2 secure safes, and a portrait that may or may not have contained emergency contracts. Normal for Elena. The self-authored manuscript lay on the table. Unwritten, a shared future. We had agreed not to use it to control events. But we still needed to decide what to do with it. Damon suggested destroying it. Cassandra suggested locking it inside the founder's vault. Elena suggested separating its pages across 3 secure locations. I suggested using it as a coffee table book. Nobody appreciated the idea. It has blank pages, I argued. Cassandra stared. It contains reality-influencing probability. Conversation starter. Damon looked at Elena. Please stop him. No. Again. My wife supported me now. Dangerous for society. Elena placed her hand on the manuscript. We cannot destroy it until we understand whether doing so would destabilize the current world. Damon nodded. Then the vault. Cassandra shook her head. If one person controls the vault, one person controls access. Elena's expression cooled. You think I would misuse it? No, Cassandra said. I think no one should have to trust a single person with that much power. The room went quiet. That was fair. Painfully fair. Cassandra continued. We just rejected unilateral authorship. Locking the book under one person's control repeats the same structure. Elena considered it. Then nodded once. You're right. Cassandra blinked. Damon blinked. I looked between them. Did Elena just accept criticism without destroying anything? Elena turned to me. Do not ruin the moment. Sorry. We eventually agreed on a consent lock. The manuscript would remain in the founder's vault, but opening it would require authorization from all four of us. Lucas, Elena, Damon, Cassandra. No single author. No single ruler. No single hero. No single villain. Messy. Inconvenient. Democratic. The worst system for efficiency and the best one for preventing tyranny. Elena drafted the agreement. Obviously, we each signed. The manuscript glowed once, then closed. My system displayed. Shared future protocol established. No individual may impose narrative change without unanimous consent. Damon leaned back. That should be the end of it. Every person in the room looked at him. He frowned. What? I pointed. Never say that. Cassandra nodded. He's right. Elena said, objectively dangerous phrasing. Damon rubbed his face. I should have stayed arrogant. No, we all said. He looked offended. Good. The emergency came 20 minutes later. Not supernatural. Not author level. Not reader generated. A real emergency. Claire entered the library, pale and holding a tablet. President Winters, there has been an incident at the East District redevelopment site. Elena stood immediately. What kind? A structural failure. One of the temporary crane systems collapsed. My blood went cold. Crane. Rain. Construction site. The Draft Zero death scene. Elena looked at me. I looked at the manuscript. It remained closed. My system flashed. Choice Preservation Emergency Advisory, Draft Zero, Event Echo detected. Important, death route is broken. Event outcome is not fixed. Not fixed, but still possible. Freedom had not erased danger. It only erased certainty. Claire continued, several workers are trapped. Emergency services are responding. Reed Holdings equipment is on site, along with Winters contractors. Thomas's company. Elena's company. Our responsibility. Damon stood. I'll activate Frost Capital's emergency logistics contacts. Cassandra picked up her phone. Vale Horizon owns mobile lifting equipment 2 districts away. Elena was already giving orders. Marcus Vehicles, Claire, coordinate hospitals. Notify all board members that normal operations are suspended. Everyone moved. No system commands. No assigned roles. Just choices. I stood frozen for half a second. The image from Draft Zero flashed in my mind. Rain. Steel. Elena trapped. Lucas dying. My system pulsed. Host fear response elevated. No kidding. Elena came to me. Lucas. I looked at her. We don't have to go personally, she said. She was giving me a choice. Not forcing bravery. Not offering sacrifice. A choice. I breathed. If we stay, will decisions be slower? Yes. Can we help? Yes. Then we go. Her eyes searched mine. Together. I nodded. Together. Damon looked over. No heroics. I glared. That was my line. Deleted best friend privilege. Revoked. Cassandra said sharply, both of you stop, the workers need us. We stopped. Immediately. She looked surprised by her own authority. I pointed at her. Good leadership. Move. Yes, ma'am. We left the estate under storm clouds gathering over the city. Not because a story demanded the scene. Not because Lucas had to die. Not because Elena had to become a widow. But because people were in danger. Because our companies were involved. Because having freedom meant choosing responsibility when nobody promised a reward. As the car accelerated toward the East District, rain struck the windshield. The same rain as Draft Zero. The same location. The same machinery. But not the same story. Elena took my hand. Damon's vehicle followed behind. Cassandra coordinated emergency equipment by phone. Marcus cleared the route. Every piece looked familiar. But this time, nobody was alone. My system chimed once. Live well does not mean live safely. It means choose what is worth facing. I stared at the words, then looked ahead at the storm. For once, I did not argue. Lucas, Elena asked. Yes. No sacrifices. I squeezed her hand. No sacrifices. Outside, lightning split the sky above the East District. The old death scene waited in the rain. But this time, we were not characters walking into an ending. We were people arriving early enough to change the outcome. The East District construction site looked exactly like the place where I was supposed to die. Rain hammered the steel framework. Emergency lights flashed red and blue through the darkness. A crane leaned over the half-finished redevelopment complex at an angle that made every engineer in a 10-mile radius feel personally threatened. Workers crowded behind emergency barriers. Firefighters shouted over the storm. And somewhere beneath a collapsed section of temporary scaffolding, 6 people were trapped. My system displayed the situation in cold blue text. Draft Zero event Echo active original outcome. Lucas Reed dies protecting Elena Winters. Current outcome undetermined. Undetermined. That was supposed to be reassuring. It was not. Elena sat beside me in the SUV, her hand still wrapped around mine. Her face was calm. Too calm. But her fingers were cold. She remembered the death scene too. The rain. The failed crane. The falling steel. The coffin. The years of loneliness written afterward. Even though we had broken that route, the old draft had left an echo behind. Not destiny. Not certainty. Just a danger shaped like a memory. Lucas, Elena said. Yes. You stay beside me. Within 3 meters. 1. That rule is becoming emotionally codependent. Her eyes turned glacial. Lucas. 1 meter is excellent, very spacious, practically independent. The SUV stopped near the emergency command station. Marcus turned from the front seat. President Winters, conditions are unstable. The site commander recommends you remain in the vehicle. Elena opened the door. Recommendation declined. Marcus looked at me. I sighed. You're asking the wrong husband if you expect me to stop her. Elena stepped into the rain. I followed immediately. Not because the draft ordered me to. Not because my role demanded heroic timing. Because she was my partner, and partners did not let each other walk into collapsing construction sites alone. Marcus rushed after us with 2 security officers, and enough frustration to qualify as a medical condition. The rain soaked my suit within seconds. I looked down at myself. Elena. What? This was a good suit. I'll replace it. That is not the point. It usually is with you. Fair. We reached the command station, where a site engineer stood over a digital map. His yellow raincoat was covered in mud, and his expression had moved past panic into professional despair. President Winters. Yes. He looked from Elena to me, then toward the damaged crane. We have 6 workers trapped in the lower service corridor. The main access route is blocked. The secondary route runs beneath the crane's eastern support. I studied the map. Thanks to my system skills, investment instincts, and growing experience with disasters that used corporate infrastructure as emotional symbolism, I understood enough to be worried. Very worried. The crane's eastern support was failing. How long? Elena asked. The engineer swallowed. 10 minutes, maybe 15. Marcus spoke sharply. Then no one enters beneath it. We have workers trapped, Elena said. And sending more people into the collapse zone won't help them. He was right. Elena knew he was right. That was the worst kind of right. A firefighter pointed toward the lower structure. We can reach them if we stabilize the crane, but the site's emergency braking system isn't responding. My system chimed. Draft 0 similarity, 73%. I frowned. Only 73. Elena looked at me. What does it say? The situation resembles the original death scene. How closely? 73%. Her face turned colder. That is too high. I agree. I prefer my death scenes below 0. A second convoy arrived through the rain. Damon jumped from the first vehicle before it fully stopped. Behind him came Frost Capital's emergency logistics team. He wore dark clothes. Still no white suit. Excellent. Cassandra arrived seconds later with 2 engineers and a convoy transporting a mobile heavy-lift system. She crossed the muddy site toward us, her hair tied back and her expression intensely focused. The equipment is here, she said, but someone disabled the crane's control network remotely. Elena's gaze sharpened. Someone. Cassandra held out a tablet. The shutdown command was sent 20 minutes before the collapse. The command log showed a familiar source classification. Unknown reader origin probability injection. I stared. No. Damon looked at the screen. What does that mean? It means the comment section learned construction sabotage. Elena's eyes glowed faintly. Her partnership preservation system had activated. Mine responded immediately. Reader pressure event detected audience expectation. Draft 0 death reenactment. Common desired outcome. Lucas sacrifices himself to save trapped workers and Elena. I felt something hot rise behind my eyes. Anger. Not fear. Not this time. People were trapped. Real people. Workers with families. Lives outside our drama. And some external audience pressure had turned their emergency into a stage because sacrifice was supposedly more interesting. I looked up at the rain. No. Damon glanced at me. What? I pointed at the damaged crane. We are not giving them the scene. Who? The readers. Cassandra's expression hardened. Her weakened red system shimmered around her. They created this. Not directly, Elena said, but expectation generated probability pressure. Damon's golden interface appeared. He read silently, then swore. I raised an eyebrow. What does the wellness seminar say? It says I'm expected to arrive too late. The humor vanished. Draft 0 Damon had arrived after Lucas died. Too late to help his best friend. Too late to save Elena from grief. Too late to change anything. Damon looked at the crane, and something fierce entered his eyes. Not happening. Cassandra's system flashed next. Her face went pale. What does yours say? Elena asked. Cassandra's voice was cold. I'm expected to hesitate because rescuing Elena strengthens her relationship with Lucas. Silence. Then Cassandra laughed once. No amusement. Just disgust. Apparently, even after everything, they still want me jealous. She turned toward the engineers. Deploy the lifting system now. One engineer hesitated. Ms. Vale, the ground is unstable. I know. We need approval from Site Command. Cassandra looked at Elena. Elena gave one nod. Approved. The engineer ran. I studied the site map. If Damon's equipment stabilizes the west side and Cassandra's lift supports the crane, we can open the secondary route. Damon looked at me. For how long? 6 minutes. The firefighter shook his head. Evacuating 6 injured workers will take at least 8. Elena pointed to a service tunnel on the map. What about this maintenance channel? The engineer looked. Too narrow for rescue equipment. But wide enough for evacuation sleds, I said. He stared at me. Yes, but we would need someone inside coordinating movement. Marcus immediately said no. I hadn't even volunteered. Yet. Marcus. No, Mr. Reed. I'm just looking at the map. You're looking at it heroically. That is an unfair interpretation of my face. Elena turned to me. No. I sighed. I haven't said anything. You were about to. Maybe. No. Elena, someone needs to coordinate from inside. A trained rescuer. Their radio network is down inside the tunnel. My shared system link may still work with yours. Her face hardened. No. Then how do we communicate? We find another way. The site groaned. Metal screamed above us. Everyone looked up. The crane had shifted another several inches. The engineer's face drained. We have 7 minutes before full failure. No time. That was the trap. Not destiny. Pressure. Forza rushed choice. Make sacrifice seem like the only answer. Draft Zero had built the whole scene around one person acting alone. So the solution was obvious. We stopped acting alone. I turned to Damon. Can your system link with mine? His eyes flickered gold. I don't know. Ask it. He stared into the rain with the pained expression of a man forced to consult supernatural corporate wellness software. A moment later, his interface brightened. Temporary anchor link available. Good. I turned to Cassandra. Can yours access the crane? My system can manipulate probability around its correction events. Can it delay collapse? Her eyes narrowed. Maybe. That is not confidence-inspiring. It's the answer. Elena looked at all 3 of us. She understood before I explained. A 4-person stabilization network. I nodded. Damon handles rescue logistics. Cassandra stabilizes the crane probability. You coordinate from command. And you? I pointed to the maintenance channel. I go inside. No. Elena. No. The rain poured between us. Damon wisely stepped away. Cassandra suddenly found the crane fascinating. Marcus looked ready to arrest me for my own safety. Elena, this is not a sacrifice. You would be entering the exact location where you died in Draft Zero. Different route. Same danger. Different choice. Her eyes burned with anger. And fear. Mostly fear. I stepped closer. I'm not pushing you away. I'm not going alone. You'll be linked to me the entire time. What if the link fails? Then Damon guides the external team. What if Cassandra's stabilization fails? Then the lifting equipment holds the crane. What if that fails? I paused, because there was no perfect answer. Freedom did not mean safety. It meant uncertainty belonged to us. I took both her hands. Then we adapt. Her jaw tightened. That is not enough. It has to be. The crane groaned again. 6 minutes. Elena closed her eyes. For 1 second, the Ice Queen disappeared. She was simply Elena, standing in the rain, being asked to trust that this time the man she loved would return. Then she opened her eyes. If you lose contact for more than 10 seconds, I send the full rescue team. Agreed. If the crane shifts beyond the secondary threshold, you evacuate immediately. Agreed. You do not stay behind for anyone who can still be moved by the team. I hesitated. Her gaze sharpened. Lucas. Agreed. No sacrifice. No sacrifice. She pulled me forward and kissed me. Right there. In the rain. In front of Damon. In front of Cassandra. In front of Marcus and about 40 emergency workers. Not soft. Not cautious. A kiss full of fury, fear, and a promise I had better survive to discuss later. When she released me, Damon was staring in the opposite direction. Cassandra looked almost amused. Marcus looked professionally traumatized. I blinked rain from my eyes. Was that operational motivation? Elena's face was cold, except for the pink at her ears. Return and I'll clarify. That was significantly more effective than any system reward. The rescue operation began. Damon's logistics team anchored the western structure. Cassandra's mobile lift extended its steel support arms beneath the failing crane. Elena took command of the site network, and I entered the maintenance channel with 4 firefighters. The tunnel was narrow, dark, and half-flooded. Mud sucked at our boots. Emergency lights flickered weakly along the walls. My system linked with Elena's. A blue thread appeared at the edge of my vision. Partner connection stable. Her voice came through my earpiece. Lucas. Here. Signal clear. Clear. Fear level. I nearly laughed. Is that you asking or the system? Me. Hi. A pause. Mine too, she admitted. That honesty steadied me more than false confidence would have. We moved deeper. The first trapped worker was conscious, pinned beneath a light steel support. The firefighters lifted it using hydraulic tools. I checked the route behind us. Damon, first worker ready. His voice came through the shared network. Evacuation sled entering now. Not too late. Not standing in the rain after my death. Here. Useful. Present. The sled arrived. We secured the worker and pushed him toward the exit. 1 rescued. No points. No applause. Just 1 human life moving toward safety. Good. The second and third workers were together. One had a broken leg. The other refused to leave without him. Elena, I said, we need 2 sleds. Already moving. Cassandra's voice cut in. Crane probability is destabilizing. I can hold the correction pressure for 4 minutes. 4 is enough. It has to be. Her system pulsed red across our network. For a second, I saw what she saw. Probability branches. In many of them, she withdrew support. In some, jealousy returned. In others, she let the crane fall and claimed it was unavoidable. Every old version of Cassandra invited her to become the villain again. She rejected them all. The branches burned away. The crane held. 3 rescued. The tunnel shook. Dust filled the air. Elena's voice sharpened. Eastern support moved 2%. We're continuing. Threshold is 5. I remember. The 4th worker was unconscious. We strapped him down and sent him back. The 5th had crawled into a side chamber. 1 firefighter reached him. 5. Only 1 remained. The site engineer's map showed the final worker at the far end of the corridor, closest to the original death location. Of course, because even broken stories retained a sense of drama. I moved forward. Lucas, Elena said. I know. Support shift is 4%. I know. Turn back at 5. I know. The final worker came into view. A young man wearing a Winters contractor badge. His leg was trapped beneath a beam. Water rose around him. He saw us and tried to move. Don't, I said, we're getting you out. The firefighter placed the hydraulic tool beneath the beam. It strained. Nothing. The beam was connected to the collapsed scaffolding above. Moving it could destabilize the entire corridor. My system flashed. Draft 0, sacrifice opportunity detected. External pressure suggests host remain behind to manually support beam. I stared at the message, then dismissed it. No. The firefighter looked at me. What? Nothing, bad suggestion. Elena heard. What did the system say? That I should stay behind supporting the beam. Her reply was immediate. No. Already rejected. Good communication. Reader tension suffered. Our marriage improved. The tool strained again. Still nothing. Damon's voice entered the channel. I can redirect the western lift. Cassandra snapped. That reduces crane stability. Can you compensate? For 90 seconds. That's enough. I looked at the worker. Do it. Elena's voice cut through. Consensus. Damon, yes. Cassandra, yes. I said yes. A pause. Then Elena said, proceed. Not one hero deciding alone. All 4 of us. The western lift shifted. The corridor screamed. Cassandra's probability field flared red. Damon's golden anchor link stabilized the rescue route. Elena's blue system calculated the structural window. My system highlighted the precise second to move. Now, the hydraulic tool lifted the beam. We pulled the worker free. The structure dropped behind us with a crash. Final worker clear, I shouted. Elena's voice shook. Evacuate immediately. We secured him on the sled and pushed toward the exit. Then the crane shifted. 5%. The tunnel lights went out. My connection with Elena vanished. 1 second. 2. 3. Darkness. Water. Metal groaning overhead. 4. 5. I kept moving. The firefighters pushed the sled. 6. 7. A section of ceiling collapsed behind us. 8. 9. Lucas. Elena's voice returned. Clear. Furious. Beautiful. I'm here. Her breath broke over the channel. Signal restored. I noticed. Distance to exit. 30 meters. Move faster. Excellent strategic advice. Lucas. Moving. We reached the secondary opening as the crane's eastern support finally failed. Outside, Cassandra shouted an order. Her lifting system took the full load. Damon's team pulled the evacuation sled clear. Firefighters dragged us through the opening. I hit the mud on my hands and knees. Behind me, the corridor collapsed. Not on me. Behind me. The sound was enormous. Then silence. Rain. Sirens. Shouting. I lifted my head. Elena was running toward me. Actually running. The woman who crossed rooms like royalty was sprinting through mud in expensive shoes. She dropped beside me and grabbed my face with both hands. You're alive. I smiled weakly. Strong observation. She kissed me again. Shorter this time. Still furious. Then she hit my shoulder. Ow. That was for the 9 seconds. The agreement allowed 10. You used 9. I remained contractually compliant. She looked like she wanted to hit me again. Instead, she pulled me into her arms. I hugged her back. Over her shoulder, Damon stood soaked in the rain, supporting the rescued worker's sled. Cassandra leaned against the mobile lift controls, exhausted but standing. Neither had arrived too late. Neither had betrayed us. The crane had fallen. The workers were alive. So was I. Draft Zero had echoed. But it had not won. My system displayed. Event concluded. 6 workers rescued. No core character casualties. No imposed sacrifice. No route correction. Outcome achieved through shared choice. That was all. No reward. It did not need one. The hospital confirmed all 6 workers would survive. 2 needed surgery. 1 had serious injuries. But alive. Their families filled the waiting area with tears, relief, fear, and exhausted gratitude. No dramatic press conference. No victory speech. Just people holding each other. That felt more important. Elena authorized lifetime medical coverage and compensation before the lawyers could recommend a lower amount. Thomas committed Reed Holdings to rebuilding the site's safety systems. Damon offered Frost Capital's logistics division for the investigation. Cassandra provided every system access trace showing the reader pressure injection. Real consequences. Real responsibility. No ending. Just work. At 3 in the morning, Elena and I sat in a quiet hospital corridor. My shoulder hurt. My suit was ruined. My shoes contained half the East District. Elena's hair was damp, and there was mud on the hem of her coat. She still looked beautiful. Unfairly. She held my hand with both of hers. You promised no sacrifice. I kept the promise. You entered the tunnel. With a team. You stayed until the final worker was free. So did the team. You lost contact. For 9 seconds. Her eyes narrowed. I stopped. Not helping. After a moment she asked, would you do it again? Dangerous question. I answered carefully. I would choose to help again. Her face tightened. But I would not choose to die. She searched my eyes. I believe you. That mattered. More than I expected. I leaned back against the wall. The old Lucas would have died. Yes. The revised Lucas would have caused a scene, made everything worse, and blamed Damon. Probably. Draft Zero Damon would have arrived late. Yes. Cassandra would have hesitated. Yes. I looked at her. and you would have become a widow. Her fingers tightened. But none of that happened. No, because the scene changed. She shook her head. Because we did. We sat quietly. Then I smiled faintly. Elena. Yes. You promised clarification if I returned. She stared. Clarification. The first kiss at the sight. Her ears turned red. Even after cranes, systems, authors, and reality layers, I could still make the Ice Queen CEO blush. A truly meaningful achievement. That was not operational motivation, she said. I suspected. It was, she paused. I waited. She looked away. Personal. I nodded solemnly. Very clear. Lucas. And the second kiss. Relief. The hug. Also relief. The shoulder hit. Anger. Excellent emotional range. She gave me a look, then rested her head against my shoulder, carefully avoiding the bruised side. I smiled. Living well was not safe. The system had been right. It was choosing what was worth facing. And sometimes, it was sitting in a hospital hallway at 3 in the morning, covered in mud, holding the woman who had once been written to mourn you. This time she did not have to. This time I came back. The next afternoon, the reader pressure trace produced an unexpected result. We gathered in Elena's study. Damon stood near the window. Cassandra sat across from us with a laptop. Thomas and Grace had been excluded from the supernatural briefing because my mother already worried enough. Cassandra displayed the signal map. The probability injection did not come from the reader we met. I frowned. The library reader. No. Elena's eyes narrowed. Then who? Cassandra highlighted thousands of faint points spread across the map. Not one source. Many. Individual readers, she said. Fragments of expectation, most harmless, but when enough of them desire the same dramatic event, the pressure accumulates. Damon folded his arms. So there is no villain controlling it. Not this time. I stared at the points. The comment section was not a person. Not an enemy. Just a crowd. Some compassionate. Some impatient. Some wanting drama. Some treating suffering like entertainment because they could not feel the consequences. Elena looked at me. How do we stop it? Cassandra hesitated. We may not be able to. Silence. My system appeared. Reader pressure cannot be eliminated without severing the world from all external observation. Consequence of severance, loss of system support, memory bridges, and probability protection. Damon frowned. If we stay connected, readers can influence events. Only influence, Cassandra said, not control. And if we disconnect, Elena asked. Cassandra looked toward me. Then the world becomes completely independent. No systems. No outside awareness. No reader layer. No safety net. No way to know whether a danger was natural or narrative. Just life. My system added. Severance is permanent. Unanimous core character consent required. Damon exhaled. Another vote. Democracy, I said, very inefficient. Elena ignored me. We do not decide tonight. Cassandra nodded. Agreed. Damon looked uncertain but said, agreed. Everyone turned to me. I thought about the tunnel. The system warning me. Elena's link guiding me. Damon's anchor support. Cassandra's probability control. Without the systems, could we have saved everyone? Maybe. Maybe not. But if we remained connected, there would always be another audience expectation pressing at the edges. Another sacrifice desired. Another misunderstanding requested. Another demand for Elena to become cold, Damon arrogant, Cassandra cruel, and me dead for emotional impact. I looked at my system. Primary objective, live well. Maybe the final choice was not between safety and danger. Maybe it was between guided freedom and complete freedom. Neither was simple. Neither was perfect. Elena is right, I said. We don't decide tonight. My system acknowledged without protest. Choice deferred. Good. For once, even the supernatural software understood boundaries. That evening, we returned to the penthouse. Elena insisted. She said the estate would become a command center if we stayed there, and I needed rest. I suspected she needed it too. We changed into comfortable clothes and sat on the couch beneath a blanket that Elena claimed was temporary, but had already positioned exactly where she wanted it. Take-out containers covered the new coffee table. Not the final one. The dining table negotiations continued. I still say 7 seats, I said. 6. What if Damon visits? He can stand. I laughed. Elena Winters, merciless CEO. He has his own home. What if my parents visit? 4 of us. Cassandra. Silence. I looked at her. Cassandra. Elena took a bite of food. She may stand beside Damon. I nearly choked. Was that a joke? No. It was. No. Elena, your humor development is becoming dangerous. She looked pleased with herself. We ate. Watched the city. Did not discuss systems. Did not discuss severance. Did not discuss readers. Then she reached for the remote and turned on a terrible romantic comedy. I stared. You chose this. Yes. Why? I wanted to understand what ordinary relationship conflict looks like. On screen, 2 characters refused to speak honestly for 90 minutes because one overheard half a conversation outside a bakery. I pointed. This is not ordinary, this is preventable. I know. Should we turn it off? No, I want to see how bad it gets. By the end, Elena had threatened the television twice. I had eaten all the dessert. And both of us agreed our supernatural marriage crisis had contained better communication. Progress. When the credits rolled, Elena leaned against me. I wrapped an arm around her. No system message appeared. Maybe it was learning. Or maybe we were. Outside, the city shone below. Somewhere beyond it, countless readers watched. Some wanted us happy. Some wanted pain. Some only wanted the next chapter. But none of them were here on this couch. None of them held Elena's hand. None of them had stood in the tunnel. Their expectations were background noise. Our choices were real. Elena, I said. Yes. If we disconnect someday, do you think we'll be all right? She thought for a long moment. Then looked up at me. I don't know. Honest. No false certainty. No CEO promise she could not guarantee. Just truth. Then she added, but I know I would still choose you without a system. My chest tightened. I smiled. Good answer. And you? I looked at her. At the woman who began as an Ice Queen heroine in a novel I wanted to escape. The woman who became my partner, my wife, and the person beside whom even uncertainty felt survivable. I already did. She smiled, then kissed me. Softly. No audience approval metric. No route confirmation. No chapter reward. Just us. And for tonight, that was enough. My system remained quiet until I was almost asleep. Then one final advisory appeared. Reader pressure events survived. Host no longer requires narrative danger to prove chosen bond. Future recommendation, ordinary happiness. I smiled at the panel. For once we agreed. Then another line appeared. Note, ordinary happiness may include property management, family obligations, workplace reform, third date amendments, and continued emotional communication. I frowned. That sounds like work. Elena, half asleep beside me, murmured, "What?" "Nothing." I dismissed the panel. Outside, thunder rolled softly over the city. Not a warning. Just weather. At least I hope so. Ordinary happiness lasted 9 days. That was a record. For 9 entire days, no one tried to rewrite reality. No author appeared in a vault. No reader demanded a tragic sacrifice. No crane collapsed because someone thought my death would improve emotional engagement. I attended 2 Reed Holdings meetings, complained through both, and somehow left with more responsibility than I had when I entered. Elena and I bought the 7-seat dining table. Yes. 7. I won. Technically, Elena claimed she approved it because the room proportions required a slightly larger centerpiece. But victory did not become less meaningful just because the defeated party rewrote the press release. Grace brought over mismatched coffee mugs for the penthouse. Thomas personally funded the dessert cabinet after deciding Reed Holdings would not lose to Winters Group in domestic hospitality infrastructure. Damon visited once. He sat in the 7th chair and looked deeply offended when I told him the seat existed only because I defeated Elena in negotiations. Cassandra visited under supervision and brought a plant. A normal plant. No hidden recording device. No poisonous leaves. No cursed message tucked inside the soil. We checked. Twice. She called that insulting. I called it character history. Even Marcus smiled. Slightly. Then, on the 10th morning, my system asked me to choose whether it should die. I was standing in the penthouse kitchen wearing sweatpants, attempting to make coffee without waking Elena. Attempting was the important word. The new coffee machine had 17 buttons, a touchscreen, and more processing power than my old-world laptop. I pressed the button labeled Classic. The machine began cleaning itself. I pressed Espresso. It displayed a maintenance tutorial. I pressed Manual. A hidden compartment opened and presented me with a tiny brush. I stared. This machine was designed by someone who hates mornings. A blue panel appeared. Choice Preservation System. Final decision available. I froze with the tiny brush in my hand. The panel expanded. Connection to external narrative layers remains active. Reader pressure has decreased, but cannot be permanently neutralized while system network exists. Core characters may now sever the connection. Result of severance. All systems will permanently deactivate. Reader influence will end. Author-level access will remain blocked. Probability guidance will disappear. Memory restoration will become irreversible and self-contained. No future route warnings will be available. No system rewards will be issued. Life will continue without narrative protection. At the bottom were 2 choices. Remain connected. Sever permanently. I stared at them. The coffee machine beeped. The maintenance tutorial restarted. Not now. The panel remained. Elena. No response. She was still asleep. I nearly selected remain, connected without waking her. Not because it was the right choice. Because keeping the system felt safer. It had warned me about danger. Given me money. Helped me expose fraud. Connected me to Elena. Restored original Lucas. Protected us against the author. Even its old divorce obsession had been a form of protection. A flawed one. But still, without it I would be blind. No glowing alerts. No probability maps. No magical analysis telling me whether the person across the table was lying, plotting, or about to activate a forced misunderstanding. Just instinct. Trust. Experience. Normal vulnerability. Terrifying. The adjoining bedroom door opened. Elena entered wearing a dark robe, her hair loose around her shoulders. Her eyes moved from me to the blue panel, then to the tiny cleaning brush in my hand. What happened? My system wants to die, and the coffee machine has rejected my authority. She walked over. Which problem first? The coffee machine is more immediate. Elena pressed one button. Coffee began pouring. I stared at her. You could have shown me that. You said you didn't require assistance. That was before the machine established dominance. She handed me the cup, then looked toward the system panel. Her own blue interface appeared. Partnership Preservation System. Final decision available, she read silently. Her face became still. You received the severance option too, I said. Yes. Something about that word bothered me. Severance. Once severance meant money. Freedom. An apartment. Properties. A clean exit. Now it meant giving up the invisible guide that had shaped our entire relationship. Elena reached for my hand. Not without Damon and Cassandra. I nodded. Unanimous consent. We meet tonight. I took a sip of coffee, then looked at the machine. It had made excellent coffee. I disliked it even more. Damon arrived at 7. Early. That was how I knew he was nervous. He wore a dark sweater and no tie, carrying his system decision like an invisible weight above his shoulder. Cassandra arrived 10 minutes later with 2 lawyers, 1 security officer, and a stack of restitution reports. Elena confiscated the reports at the door. This is not a legal meeting. Cassandra blinked. You invited me to discuss permanent system deactivation. Yes. That sounds legal. It is personal. Cassandra looked momentarily lost. Then she handed the reports to Claire. Progress. We gathered around the 7-seat dining table. Elena and I sat on one side. Damon and Cassandra sat across from us. 3 chairs remained empty. My parents were not part of this decision. Marcus was nearby, but not involved. The 7th chair sat at the head of the table. Empty. For some reason, it reminded me of the author. The reader. Original Lucas. Every invisible presence that had once decided who we were supposed to become. I stood, walked around the table, and moved the empty chair away. Damon watched me. What are you doing? Improving the atmosphere. It's a chair. It was judging us. Cassandra nodded thoughtfully. It did feel symbolic. Damon stared at her. Do not encourage him. Elena calmly moved the chair against the wall. My wife understood me. The 4 system panels appeared. Blue for me, deep blue for Elena, gold for Damon, faded red for Cassandra. They hovered above the table like supernatural voting software. Damon broke the silence. Mine says the anchor liberation interface will permanently deactivate. I leaned back. Are you sure you want to lose the wellness seminar? He ignored me. It also says all remaining Draft 0 friendship memories will become ordinary memories. No further recovery will be possible. That mattered. There were probably more memories. University. Friendship. The original conspiracy. Moments neither of us had recovered. If Damon severed the system, we might never see them. Cassandra looked at her own panel. My system says probability manipulation will end permanently. Elena's gaze sharpened. You won't be able to detect reader pressure. No. Or correction events. No. Does that frighten you? Cassandra's mouth tightened. Yes. The honesty surprised everyone, including her. She looked down at the table. My system made me dangerous, but it also made me feel prepared. Even when I was wrong, I thought I could see the structure beneath everything. Her fingers curled. Without it, I won't know when I'm being manipulated. Damon said quietly, neither will the rest of us. Cassandra looked at him. He did not offer easy comfort. He did not say he would always protect her. He did not deploy romance as absolution. He simply said, we'll have to ask, verify, talk. She laughed bitterly. That sounds inefficient. Elena said, it is. I pointed at her. Thank you. She ignored me. Damon looked at his golden panel. What if we need the systems again? I answered before I could overthink it. Then we deal with the problem without them. He looked at me. You sound certain. I'm not. Then why say it like that? Brand integrity. He sighed. Still, none of us selected anything. The systems waited. Patient. Unpressuring. For once, Elena placed both hands on the table. We should review the risks. Damon groaned. I smiled. There she is. She gave me a cold look. Then began. If we remain connected, reader pressure continues. It may generate future accidents, misunderstandings, conflicts, and attempts to return us to familiar roles. Cassandra nodded. My system estimates escalating pressure if audience interest declines. I frowned. Meaning what? If readers become bored, probability may attempt larger events. Damon leaned back. Another kidnapping. Possibly. Another corporate war. Yes. Another death scene. Cassandra did not answer. She didn't need to. Elena continued. If we disconnect, we lose warnings and system abilities, but external narrative pressure ends. I looked at my panel. Do we keep the rewards? My system answered aloud. Previously integrated lawful assets, skills, and memories will remain. I brightened. The penthouse stays. Elena turned slowly toward me. What? It's an important asset clarification. Damon covered his face. Cassandra almost laughed. The system continued. Artificial probability protections will end. Host will remain subject to ordinary risk, consequence, illness, uncertainty, and mortality. The room grew quiet. Mortality. Ordinary mortality. No death route. No narrative protection. Just the same thing everyone else lived with. We could still die. Of age. Accident. illness, bad luck. But the universe would no longer arrange a crane, because dramatic sacrifice tested well with readers. I looked at Elena. She was already looking at me. The fear was still there. Smaller than before. But real. I don't want to lose the warning system, she said quietly. The words were meant for me. Not the room. I know. If something happens to you, something eventually will. Her face tightened. I reached across and took her hand. Not tonight, hopefully not for a very long time, but no system can make that promise. Elena stared at our joined hands. I hate that. Me too. She looked up. But if we stay connected, you'll spend every day watching for the next route. Her eyes softened with pain. Yes. And I'll spend every day wondering if my choices are really mine. Yes. Damon said mine too. Cassandra nodded. Elena closed her eyes briefly. Then opened them. I vote to sever. The words landed softly. No dramatic explosion. No music. Just choice. Her system displayed. Elena Winters, sever permanently selected, awaiting unanimous consent. My chest tightened. I looked at my own options. Remain connected. Sever permanently. A week ago, I would have kept every advantage. No question. Systems meant money, skills, warnings, and survival. But I had spent my entire life in this world, fighting for choices that were not secretly optimized by someone else. What was the point of winning freedom if I kept the door open for the audience to rearrange the furniture? I vote to sever. Lucas Reed, sever permanently selected. Damon exhaled, then smiled faintly. I spent too long being the anchor. His finger moved through the golden panel. I'd like to find out who I am when nothing revolves around me. Damon Frost, sever permanently selected. 3 votes. Everyone looked at Cassandra. She stared at the choices. Her faded red system flickered. The system had made her a villain, but it had also made her powerful. Informed. Protected from uncertainty. Without it, she would have to live with consequences she could not predict. Trust people who had every reason not to trust her. Build a life without knowing whether the next move was correct. Her hand trembled. Damon did not touch her. Good. This was hers. Finally, Cassandra lifted her head. I used certainty as an excuse for cruelty. She selected the option. I'd rather be uncertain than controlled. Cassandra Vale, sever permanently selected. The 4 panels brightened. Unanimous consent confirmed. External narrative connection will terminate in 60 seconds. A countdown appeared. 60. I stared. Why a countdown? Final data review period. Very corporate. Elena's panel displayed a summary. Mine did too. Assets retained. Skills retained. Memories secured. Shared future protocol converted into a normal legal covenant. No supernatural enforcement. No probability edits. No route maps. No reader access. No author intervention. The blank manuscript would become ordinary paper. We would become ordinary people. Rich, emotionally complicated, unusually well-documented people. But ordinary in the ways that mattered. 45. Damon looked at me. If there are more friendship memories, we'll lose them. We have enough to start again. He nodded. That sounds annoyingly wise. Don't tell anyone. 35. Cassandra looked toward Elena. My system says the illegal surveillance evidence will remain admissible because it has already been independently verified. Elena nodded. You will still face consequences. I know. Good. Cassandra gave a faint smile. Some things don't change. 25. Elena's system displayed one final private message. She read it and her face softened. What does it say? I asked. She turned the panel toward me. Husband preservation, objective completed. Husband remained by choice. My throat tightened. I looked at my own panel. A final message appeared. Divorce escape, objective reinterpreted. Host successfully escaped, imposed marriage narrative. Result, host chose marriage freely. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Though it was a little funny. Elena. Yes. My divorce system claims it succeeded. Her lips curved. It did. 15. Damon's golden interface displayed. Anchor liberated. Protagonist authority dissolved. Individual identity confirmed. Cassandra's red panel showed. Villainous route ended. Accountability remains. Autonomy confirmed. No one spoke. 10. The system lights filled the room. Blue. Gold. Faded red becoming warm white. 9. Elena's fingers intertwined with mine. 8. Damon straightened in his seat. 7. Cassandra took one slow breath. 6. The blank manuscript on a nearby shelf began losing its glow. 5. I looked around the table. Former heroine. Former protagonist. Former villainess. Former disposable husband. 4. No roles. 3. No roots. 2. No audience. 1. Live well. The systems vanished. Completely. No flicker. No lingering icon. No quiet digital hum in the back of my mind. Nothing. I waited. The room stayed still. Elena looked upward, as if expecting her panel to return. It did not. Damon blinked several times. Cassandra stared at the empty air. I mentally called my system. No answer. For the first time since the morning Elena refused my divorce, my mind belonged entirely to me. It was quiet. Terrifyingly quiet. Beautifully quiet. I looked at Elena. How do you feel? She thought about the question. Then said afraid. Same. And relieved. Same. Damon leaned back. I feel unemployed. I pointed at him. Former protagonist withdrawal. Cassandra said, I feel blind. Elena looked at her. We all are. Cassandra nodded slowly. Good. That was it. No reward. No final message. No congratulations. The universe did not applaud. It simply continued. The first problem without systems arrived 12 minutes later. The penthouse fire alarm activated. Everyone froze. Damon stood. Cassandra looked toward the kitchen. Elena gripped my hand. I smelled smoke. Real smoke. No system classification. No probability map. No indication whether it was an accident, sabotage, or reader pressure. My heartbeat raced. Then Claire rushed into the dining room holding a smoking tray. I'm sorry, the oven overheated. On the tray was what had once been a chocolate cake. I stared at it. Elena. Yes. We severed the systems and immediately lost dessert. Tragic. Claire looked mortified. I can order another. I walked toward the tray. The cake was burned around the edges, but possibly survivable in the center. No system could tell me. I cut a piece. Elena watched. Are you sure? No. I tasted it. Everyone waited. I chewed thoughtfully. Then nodded. Acceptable. Elena tried a bite. So it is. Damon took one too. Cassandra hesitated, then joined us. We stood around the ruined cake, eating the center while the alarm stopped and the smoke cleared. No system points. No hidden lesson. Just burned dessert. Ordinary life had begun. The next morning, I woke before Elena. Sunlight entered through the penthouse windows. The city was quiet below. I lay still listening. No system. No warnings. No emotional percentage. Beside me, Elena slept peacefully. Not in the adjoining guest room. Not in her separate suite. Beside me. Nothing inappropriate. Just sleep. A choice made after the longest, most exhausting conversation in marital history. Her hand rested near mine on the blanket. I watched her breathe. Then the old fear came. What if something happened? What if the system should have stayed? What if we made the wrong choice? There was no panel to answer. So I did the only thing available. I reached for her hand. Elena's fingers closed around mine, even in sleep. The fear did not disappear. It simply became bearable. Maybe that was normal. A few minutes later, her eyes opened. She looked at me, then around the room. No system, she said. No system. How long have you been awake? Not long. Were you watching me? I was monitoring operational stability. Her eyes narrowed. I smiled. She shifted closer. Coffee. The machine hates me. I'll make it. See partnership. We got up. No urgent quest. No crisis countdown. No reader alert. Just coffee. The machine obeyed Elena immediately. Naturally. I leaned against the counter. Do you think we should tell the others we survived the night without supernatural guidance? Yes. Should we make it dramatic? No. I'll text Damon. I picked up my phone. Then paused. No system-based secure network. No shared interface. Just a normal group chat Elena had created the night before. The name was. Damon changed it to. Shared Future Protocol. Former Narrative Prisoners. Cassandra changed it to. Accountability and Reconstruction Committee. I changed it to. No white suits. Elena changed it back to. Authoritarian. Shared Future Protocol. I typed. Alive coffee operational. No cosmic interference. Damon replied. Alive system still gone. I had to choose my own breakfast. Disturbing. Cassandra wrote. Alive meeting lawyers at 9. No route guidance still attending. Elena read over my shoulder. Good. Then Grace messaged separately. Family dinner tonight. Do not make other plans. No supernatural force in the world had ever delivered a command with greater authority. I showed Elena. We've found a new system. She read the message. Then nodded solemnly. Your mother. Exactly. Reed Holdings stabilized over the next month. Thomas reduced his schedule. Not easily. Not gracefully. But he did it. I accepted a part-time vice chairman advisory role under strict conditions. No meetings before 10. No ceremonial speeches without advance warning. Dessert budget fully approved. Elena called that last clause ridiculous. Then Winters' group created a larger one. Corporate competition moved in mysterious ways. Damon remained at Frost Capital long enough to complete the restructuring. He reduced his authority, appointed independent directors, and removed his portrait from the lobby. I had not known there was a portrait. When I found out, I mocked him for 45 minutes. He claimed it had been commissioned by Cassandra. Cassandra produced emails proving he personally approved the lighting. The group chat became vicious. Healthy friendship. Cassandra testified. Paid restitution. Lost control of Vale Horizon. For several weeks, business channels called her disgraced, fallen, finished. She read every headline, accepted every consequence, then started working with an independent corporate ethics organization as an unpaid analyst. Not redemption through romance. Not instant forgiveness. Work. Slow, unglamorous work. Damon did not chase her. She did not ask him to. Sometimes they spoke. Carefully. That was enough. And Elena. Elena moved part of her wardrobe into the penthouse. Then part of her office. Then several bookshelves. Then the 7-seat dining table arrived. By the time I realized what was happening, my escape bunker had become our home. Mismatched mugs. Comfortable blankets. Grace's plants. Thomas's dessert cabinet. A chair Damon complained was uncomfortable. A reading lamp Cassandra selected after criticizing every other lamp in the store. The place was no longer empty. Neither was I. 3 months after severing the systems, Elena and I stood on the penthouse balcony. The city lights stretched below us. No panels appeared. No manuscript waited. No reader comments hovered in the sky. Elena held 2 cups of tea. She handed one to me. For tonight, I asked. Her eyes warmed. That's all. The old wedding night phrase. Once stolen. Now ours. I took the cup. Elena. Yes. Do you remember the divorce papers? Her expression cooled. Unfortunately, I was very efficient. You packed before speaking to me. Strategic departure planning. Cowardice. Financially literate cowardice. She looked at me, then smiled. What about them? I reached into my jacket. Her eyes narrowed. What are you doing? I pulled out a folded document. Her face went glacial. Lucas. Relax. That phrase has never preceded anything reasonable. I handed it to her. She opened it. The old divorce settlement agreement. Signed by me. Still valid in form, though never executed. Across the top I had written, void by mutual choice. Below it was a new document. Marriage Agreement version 2. Elena looked at me. I suddenly felt more nervous than when facing the author. This one has no temporary term, I said. She looked down. The clauses were simple. Shared decisions. Independent identities. Mutual consent. No disappearing to protect the other person. No using silence as punishment. Dessert mandatory during major negotiations. Marriage maintained only through continuing free choice. Elena read every line. Of course she did. Then looked up. You left out a termination payment. I swallowed. Was that a problem? Then I saw the faint amusement in her eyes. I exhaled. Do you want one? No. Good, because the dessert cabinet destroyed my budget. She folded the agreement carefully. We need one more clause. My heartbeat increased. What clause? She took my pen. Then wrote, neither party may assume love is understood when it can be spoken. I stared at the words, then at her. Elena's hand trembled slightly, but she held my gaze. I love you, Lucas. No system measured my happiness. No reader approved. No author wrote the line. She said it because she chose to. I smiled. I love you too. She signed. I signed. No blue light. No magical confirmation. Just ink. Paper. 2 names. Enough. Then Elena kissed me beneath the city lights. And the world did not end. No crane fell. No villain appeared. No hero returned. Nothing interrupted. For once, life allowed the moment to remain exactly what it was. Hours. Afterward, I rested my forehead against hers. So about that original $80 million settlement, her eyes narrowed. Lucas, I'm joking. You had better be. I chose marriage freely, but financial curiosity remains part of my identity. She laughed. Warmly. Freely. The same laugh once cut from our wedding night. Only now there was no one left with the power to erase it. And no system needed to tell me I was happy. I already knew. 6 months after we turned off the systems, I discovered something more dangerous than authors, readers, and villainesses combined. Anniversary planning. It began on a Tuesday morning when Elena placed a folder beside my coffee. The folder was black. Slim. Elegant. Suspicious. I stared at it. Then at her. Then back at it. Elena. Yes. Why is there a folder beside my breakfast? She continued reading the financial section of the morning news. It contains documents. I gathered that from its aggressive folder shape. She turned a page. Open it. No. Her eyes lifted. No. I have learned from experience. Folders lead to board appointments, corporate conspiracies, succession plans, and legally binding emotional development. This one is different. That is exactly what dangerous folders want you to believe. Elena closed the newspaper. She wore a cream blouse and dark trousers, her hair falling neatly over one shoulder. Morning sunlight entered through the penthouse windows, making her look far too beautiful for someone conducting a surprise paperwork ambush before 9. Lucas. Elena. Open the folder. I took a cautious sip of coffee. Is this about Reed Holdings? No. Winters Group? No. Damon? No. Cassandra? No. Unexpected construction equipment? No. Then why does it require paper? Her expression became dangerously neutral. Because our anniversary is next month. I froze. The coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. Our anniversary. Not the date our contract began. Not the day of our public wedding. Not even the night whose memories had been stolen and restored. The anniversary of signing Marriage Agreement version 2. The day Elena told me she loved me beneath the city lights. The day we chose the marriage without systems, roots, or authors. I slowly lowered the cup. Oh. Elena's eyebrow lifted. Oh. I remembered. You did not. I remembered emotionally. That is not a recognized form of calendar management. I was going to remember eventually. After the date passed. No. She stared at me. I stared back. Marriage was built on trust. Therefore, I trusted her to know I was lying. She pushed the folder closer. I opened it. The title page read, First Anniversary Options. Beneath it were 5 tabs. Private Dinner. Weekend Retreat. Family Celebration. Public Charity Event. Combination Schedule. I turned slowly toward her. Elena. Yes. You created options. I like options. There is a combination schedule. It is the most efficient. I flipped to it. Friday evening, private dinner. Saturday morning, charity announcement. Saturday afternoon, family gathering. Sunday, private retreat. Monday, press release. I stared in horror. This is not an anniversary. This is a product launch. The schedule can be adjusted. Elena, Monday includes a post-event review. That was Claire's suggestion. Claire has been corrupted. She is efficient. She scares me. So do I. Different category. The corner of Elena's mouth moved. I closed the folder. What do you want? She glanced down at the table. It was a small movement. Almost invisible. But I knew her now. This was not really about the schedule. This was about uncertainty. Elena could lead a multinational corporation through a hostile takeover without blinking. But asking for something personal still required 4 tabs and an executive summary. I reached across the table and took her hand. No options, I said. Her eyes returned to mine. No. Tell me what you want. She was silent for several seconds. Then she said, I want one day that belongs only to us. Simple. No board members. No reporters. No family. No former protagonist. No reformed villainess. No corporate charity announcement. Just us. I smiled. Done. Her shoulders relaxed. But I added, I plan it. Suspicion immediately entered her eyes. You. Yes. Alone. Yes. Without assistance. Correct. Lucas. Elena. You once paid 4 times the market price for furniture because you didn't want to wait for delivery. It arrived the same day. You bought a restaurant because you liked the dessert menu. Excellent investment. You tried to expense a customized snack cabinet as executive wellness infrastructure. It is executive wellness infrastructure. Her eyes narrowed. I squeezed her hand. Trust me. That was unfair. I knew it. She knew it. But after a long silence, Elena nodded. Fine. Good. I will not investigate. Excellent. I will not monitor the reservations. Very healthy. I will not ask Claire for updates. Perfect. I will maintain emergency veto authority. I sighed. Fine. She looked satisfied. The agreement was complete. No paperwork required. Progress. Planning a romantic anniversary without supernatural guidance turned out to be extremely difficult. The old divorce escape system would have given me a quest. The choice preservation system would have offered a risk analysis. Even the comment section would have produced several terrible ideas I could reject until something useful remained. Now I had nothing. No panels. No probabilities. Just the internet, my credit card, and several people who should never have been included in romantic planning. My first mistake was asking Damon. We met at Frost Capital's new executive cafe, which was less intimidating than the old corner office and contained no portraits of him. Another sign of healing. Damon sat across from me wearing a dark suit and reviewing the anniversary folder I had secretly photographed. He turned a page, then another, then looked at me. Elena made this. Yes. This is terrifying. Thank you. You agreed to plan the entire event. Yes. Why? Because I love my wife. He leaned back. That does not explain the poor judgment. I pointed at him. You were once the main character of a romance novel. Against my will. You still have historical experience. My romantic return ended with scandal photos behind a piano. Which is why I am asking what not to do. He considered. That's fair. Damon returned to the folder. Do not make a public speech. Agreed. Do not hire musicians. Strongly agreed. Do not invite me. Already planned. He looked offended. I meant to the private portion. You are banned from all portions. Cassandra too. Especially Cassandra. Damon thought for a moment. What does Elena enjoy that has nothing to do with work? I frowned. She fences. Too competitive. She reads. Too quiet. She likes tea. That is not an anniversary. She enjoys threatening inefficient board members. Damon stared. You know your wife very well. Thank you. That was not praise. I sighed. This is why I need help. He picked up his coffee. What was the happiest ordinary moment you had together? That question stopped me. Not the author battle. Not the wedding night memory. Not our first chosen kiss. An ordinary moment. I thought of the penthouse. Take-out containers. Terrible romantic movies. Elena threatening the television because the characters refused to communicate. Mismatched mugs. Our 7-seat table. Her head on my shoulder. No danger. No performance. Just home. I slowly smiled. I know what to do. Damon looked relieved. Good. You're still not invited. His relief vanished. My second mistake was asking Cassandra. I found her at the corporate ethics organization, where she now worked 3 days a week. Unpaid. Uncelebrated. Under scrutiny. She sat in a plain office, surrounded by compliance manuals and boxes of testimony records. There was no private executive suite. No assistants. No red system. Just Cassandra in a gray suit, doing difficult work nobody applauded. She looked at my planning notes. Then at me. This is sentimental. I need an opinion, not a character assessment. You came to the wrong person. You once orchestrated a citywide romantic narrative involving Damon. Her expression darkened. That was manipulation. Yes, but it had production value. She stared for several seconds. Then against her will, she laughed. A real laugh. It surprised both of us. Cassandra handed the notes back. Elena does not need extravagance. I know. She needs proof that you know the difference between being alone with her and isolating her. That was unexpectedly insightful. I sat back. Explain. When the two of you first married, the estate was quiet, but it was not intimate. You lived separately. Spoke through contracts, attended events as a performance. She folded her hands. If you give her a private day, don't make it empty. Fill it with evidence of the life you chose together. I looked at her. That is good advice. I know. Would you like me to record this moment? It may support your rehabilitation case. Leave. Thank you, Cassandra. Leave now. Progress came in many forms. For the next 3 weeks, I became suspicious. Not because I was plotting against Elena. Because I was plotting for Elena, which looked surprisingly similar from the outside. I blocked off one room in the penthouse, changed several passwords, met privately with Grace, collected old photographs from Thomas, asked Claire for copies of our first public event, our original marriage contract, and the signed version 2 agreement. I visited the restaurant from our successful second date, bought the specific tea from our stolen wedding night memory, found a replica of the chocolate dessert Elena had accepted at Damon's disastrous banquet. Then I did something extremely dangerous. I learned to cook it myself, without system-provided culinary mastery, without supernatural assistance, just recipes, practice, failure, and a kitchen that looked like a powdered sugar explosion had declared independence. On my 4th attempt, Elena returned home early. I heard the front door, then her footsteps, then silence. I stood in the kitchen holding a ruined chocolate dessert while smoke drifted toward the ceiling. She appeared in the doorway. Her eyes moved across the disaster. Flour on the counter, chocolate on my sleeve, 3 failed desserts in the trash, a saucepan that might never recover. Then she looked at me. Lucas. Elena. What happened? Operational training. In our kitchen. Controlled environment. The smoke detector is covered with a towel. Temporary safety adjustment. Her eyes narrowed. I moved in front of the recipe book. What are you hiding? Nothing. You changed 3 passwords. Cybersecurity. You blocked the study. Home improvement. You asked Claire for our marriage documents. Administrative nostalgia. Her gaze sharpened. Lucas, read. I held up the ruined dessert. Do you want this? She stared at it. What is it? Technically chocolate. Technically, it has suffered. Elena walked toward me. I expected interrogation. Corporate cross-examination. Maybe a forced disclosure clause. Instead, she took the spoon from my hand and tried a small bite. Her face remained perfectly still. That was bad. Very bad. Well, I asked. She swallowed carefully. It is, I waited. Determined. That is not a flavor. It may be the only accurate description. I looked at the dessert. Then at her. You hate it. No. Elena. It is not yet successful. Brutal. Fair. She placed the spoon down, then leaned forward and kissed my cheek. What was that for? Effort. My heart warmed. Then she added, clean the kitchen. The warmth cooled slightly. Cruel. Necessary. She left, but I saw the smile before she turned away. Good. Attempt 4 had failed. Attempt 5 would not. Probably. The anniversary morning arrived with rain. Not death scene rain. Not storm rain. Just soft, ordinary rain against the penthouse windows. Elena woke beside me and immediately looked toward the clock. No. She turned. What? No work. I didn't say anything. You looked at the time with executive intent. I have a morning call. Cancelled. Her eyebrow rose. You canceled my call. Claire canceled it. You involved Claire in betrayal. She remains efficient. Elena reached for her phone. I took it first. Lucas. Today belongs to us. Her expression softened. Then she sat up. What did you plan? I smiled. Breakfast. That is not reassuring. Have faith. I tasted attempt 4. We do not speak of attempt 4. Breakfast was safe. I had ordered it from a reliable restaurant. Not everything needed personal struggle. Afterward, I gave Elena the first envelope. Inside was a handwritten card. Stop 1, the contract. She looked at me. The contract. Come with me. I led her to the previously blocked room. When I opened the door, Elena stopped. The room had become a quiet gallery. Not expensive art. Our history. On one wall hung a framed copy of the original marriage contract. Cold. Temporary. Carefully negotiated. Beside it was the unsigned divorce settlement I had prepared. Then the void by mutual choice document. Then marriage agreement version 2. Beneath each document was a short handwritten note. What I had believed then. What I understood now. What I chose afterward. Elena moved slowly along the wall. She stopped before the divorce papers. My note beneath them read, I thought leaving was the only way to survive. I did not know surviving could mean staying where I was free to be known. Her fingers touched the edge of the frame. She said nothing. That made me nervous. Elena. She looked at me. Her eyes were bright. Not crying. Not yet. Continue, she said softly. Good. Stop 2 was the wedding night. A small table. 2 cups of tea. The restored transcript printed and bound, but with the deleted ending left blank. Elena opened the booklet. On the final page I had written, the author stole the rest of that night. So we have spent every day since writing it back. Her breath caught. She closed the booklet carefully. Lucas. Yes. You made this. Yes. All of it. With help. From whom? Classified. Grace. I will neither confirm nor deny. Claire. Possibly. Cassandra. Emotionally alarming but useful. Her lips curved through the emotion. Good. Stop 3 was the living room. Photographs covered the new bookshelves. Grace laughing at our table. Thomas pretending not to enjoy dessert. Damon losing an argument. Cassandra placing the plant near the window. Marcus accepting a slice of cake while pretending he was still on duty. Elena and me after our second date. Elena asleep on the couch with a report still in her hand. Me in the kitchen, horrified by the coffee machine. Ordinary moments. Messy. Unplanned. Alive. This, I said, is what came after the ending. Elena looked around the room. At our home. At the mismatched mugs. The 7-seat table. The life that had filled the escape penthouse. No audience, I said. No system, no author, just people who kept showing up. She turned toward me. A tear finally slipped down her cheek. I wiped it away gently. Too much. No. Good too much. Yes. Excellent. Denied emotional bankruptcy. For now. The final stop was the balcony. Rain tapped softly against the covered glass roof I had installed so Elena could stand outside without getting soaked and pretending she did not mind. A small table waited. 2 plates. 2 cups of tea, and in the center, 1 chocolate dessert. Attempt 9. I was confident. Mostly. Elena looked at it. Determined chocolate. Improved chocolate. She sat. I cut 2 small pieces. We tried it at the same time. I chewed. Elena chewed. Silence. Long silence. Well, I asked. She looked at me solemnly. It is successful. I placed a hand over my heart. Thank God. She laughed. Warmly. Freely. The sound filled the balcony. I sat across from her. For tonight, I said, lifting my tea, that's all. She lifted hers. For tonight, that's enough. We drank. No systems confirmed anything. No manuscript glowed. No reader approved. Just rain, tea, slightly imperfect chocolate, and the woman I had chosen. After a while, Elena reached into her coat pocket. My eyes narrowed. What is that? Your anniversary gift. You did not tell me gifts were involved. It is an anniversary. I made a gallery. That is your gift. I also fought chocolate 9 times. 8. How do you know? She gave me a look. Right. CEO wife. Terrifying observance. She handed me a small box. Inside was a key. Not ornate. Not symbolic looking. Just a normal silver key. I turned it over. What does it open? The Winters estate. I blinked. I already have access. Biometric access, staff access, husband access. That last one sounds promising. This is different. Elena folded her hands. The West study beside mine has always belonged to the head of the Winters family's spouse. I stared. She continued, it was sealed after my parents died. I never reopened it. Something in her voice changed. Memory. Grief. Joyce. I had it restored, she said. Not as an office you are required to use, not as a role, not as a claim. Her eyes held mine. As a place for you beside me, if you want it. My throat tightened. The key suddenly felt heavier. A place beside her. Not behind. Not decorative. Not temporary. Chosen. I closed my hand around it. I want it. Her shoulders relaxed. Good. But I have conditions. Her eyebrow rose. Conditions. Comfortable sofa. Approved. Bookshelves. Approved. Snack cabinet. Negotiable. Elena. Approved. Mismatched mugs. She sighed. Approved. And the door cannot close villainously. Her lips twitched. It is automated. I reject automated menace. Fine. I smiled. Then I accept. She stood. I stood too. For a moment, we faced each other beneath the sound of rain. Then Elena said, I have another gift. I frowned. That feels unfair. I only made 1 edible dessert. She took my hand and placed it over her heart. No ring box. No document. No material thing. Just her heartbeat beneath my palm. I used to think love was a weakness people used to control you, she said. Her voice was steady, but her fingers trembled against mine. Then I thought it was something systems could preserve, contracts could define, or fear could protect. She shook her head. But love is not preservation. I waited. It is continuing to choose someone after certainty is gone. My chest hurt. Beautifully. Rudely. Elena, I choose you today, she said, and I intend to choose you tomorrow, but I will say it each time because I promise not to assume you understand. The clause she had added, neither party may assume love is understood when it can be spoken. I smiled. I love you too. She stepped closer. I know. I raised an eyebrow. Elena. A smile touched her lips, but I still like hearing it. Good, because I plan to become repetitive. Then I kissed her. Softly. No storms. No death route. No urgency. Just an anniversary kiss beneath ordinary rain. Exactly what I wanted. More than I had known to ask for. Family dinner happened the next evening. Grace organized it without consulting anyone, which remained the closest thing our system-free world had to divine authority. All 7 chairs were filled. Grace, Thomas, Elena, me, Damon, Cassandra, Claire, who had finally been forced to attend as a guest rather than an employee. Marcus declined the dining chair and remained near the room entrance until Grace personally ordered him to sit. We found another chair. The 7-seat table had failed immediately. I considered that proof we should have bought 8. Elena considered it proof Marcus should have accepted the 7th chair earlier. Marriage remained a process. Grace raised a glass. To Lucas and Elena. Everyone joined. Even Damon. Especially Cassandra. Thomas looked at me with quiet pride. Claire looked relieved. Nobody had scheduled a midnight crisis. Marcus looked uncomfortable being off duty. Elena's hand rested on my knee beneath the table. Warm. Steady. Real. Damon lifted his glass slightly higher. To the contract that failed. I pointed at him. That was almost funny. Thank you, Cassandra added, and to the divorce that never happened. I raised my glass. I still think 80 million was a strong offer. Elena's fingers tightened on my knee. Lucas. Joking. Grace laughed. Thomas shook his head. Damon looked offended on behalf of romance. Cassandra actually smiled. The room filled with overlapping voices. Arguments. Stories. Grace trying to feed everyone more food. Thomas and Elena debating logistics investments. Damon correcting my inaccurate version of his white suit entrance. Cassandra reminding him the suit was worse in person. Claire laughing into her glass. Marcus quietly taking a second dessert. No one performed a role. No one controlled the scene. No one knew what happened next. Maybe that was why it felt so alive. Later, after everyone left, Elena and I stood by the penthouse windows. The city glowed below. The anniversary gallery remained lit behind us. The original contract. The divorce papers. The new agreement. A visible path from obligation to choice. Elena leaned against me. I wrapped an arm around her. Was it enough? I asked. She looked up. The anniversary. Yes. No. I froze. No. She smiled. It was more than enough. That was manipulative timing. I learned from you. Terrifying. She rested her head against my shoulder again. For a while, we simply watched the city. Then she asked, "What do you want next?" No system objective. No quest. No route. Just a question from my wife. I thought about it. Reed Holdings. The penthouse. Our home. Dates. Family. Imperfect desserts. The restored study waiting beside hers. A future not guaranteed, but available. I want to keep this, I said. Elena's voice softened. This. The life after the ending. She took my hand. So do I. Outside, rain began falling again. Ordinary rain. No old scene. No hidden danger. Just weather touching glass. And somewhere, perhaps, readers still imagined what should happen to us. Maybe some wanted another villain. Another betrayal. Another dramatic separation. But they had no power here anymore. The systems were gone. The author was gone. The roots were gone. All that remained was choice. Tomorrow we might argue. We might fail. We might apologize badly and try again. Work would create problems. Family would create complications. Damon would probably attempt another, emotionally significant garden conversation. Cassandra's accountability would continue. Life would not become easy. But it did not need to be easy to be ours. I looked at Elena, the woman I once planned to leave for $80 million. The woman who had refused to let me vanish. The woman who eventually learned that keeping someone and controlling them were not the same thing. My wife. My partner. My chosen future. She caught me staring. What? Nothing. Lucas. I smiled. I was thinking the transdimensional trip was worth it. Her eyebrow lifted. Only now. The chocolate took 9 attempts. 8. We disagree. She laughed. And once again, no one erased it.